My name is Graf. I work as innovation lead Web3, Metaverse and generative AI for Arvato systems. I had the pleasure to host this stage together with my colleague Lea, and we are very grateful to Amazon Freight for sponsoring this. And also a big applause to the whole team of E-commerce Berlin because they did an amazing job. Thank you very, very much. Mark is here. Thank you very much for this. And yeah, we already heard a lot about what AI can do for you, what robotics can do for you. Now we had Web3. This panel is even going to bring one new aspect to the whole innovation part from the media and the gaming side. So I'm super, super excited to have these amazing guests on stage with me today. To be honest, they are all handpicked because I wanted to talk to them and wrap up today. Since you know what, I am asking questions that I'm really interested in because we all want to know what's coming next. How can we bring all these technologies together? And now I will make a quick introduction so that we start into the topic. Ben, next to me, Harmanus, is the principal channel manager for YouTube at HubSpot and hosts the Creators of the Metaverse podcast, where I have the pleasure to we talk about like all the topics that are coming up. So yeah, be sure to check this out as well. We now have a video cast also, which is very exciting. As a keynote speaker, he inspires with his passion for customer centricity, diversity as a growth lever, and marketing experience excellence. The second edition of his best-selling book, I was really surprised that you also did this with all the other things, content design was published in 2021. And his passion for gaming helps us understand what and how immersive worlds make a difference. So next to Ben, we have the first Sven Gronemeyer, that I met 2 years ago. Also part of our small family, the Bertelsmann group, but for another division. With a physics background, Sven has led UFA serial drama. You might know GZSZ if you are from Germany. Business development for over 15 years now. Congratulations. He enhances revenue streams, explores new business models with emerging technologies, and optimizes global distribution and marketing for UFA's daily dramas. To bring it also from the educational and university perspective, we have Lukas Beckenbauer. You were going to the south, by the way. Now we are in Munich with the last two people on the panel. You're a doctoral candidate at the TU Munich's Chair for Strategy and Organization, where you're researching the intersection of blockchain and Web3, and this is how we met, and AI. Lukas studied media, data analysis, social sciences, and philosophy in Amsterdam and Lüneburg. And every one of you who already heard the keynote knows that Sven is one of the tech enthusiasts from SAP, so I keep it short for now. You do the customer experiences. We work together for quite over a year now, and hopefully we'll be making everything accessible for the mass market that isn't accessible for now. So this is our mission together. And I ask all of you the question about how do you explain your job? What is your thing that you want to see from the AI? And 2 of you answered they want an AI chef. Now raise your hands so that the matching 2 of you.
I'm curious because Anna said it's 2.
I have never heard that answer before. So I think we will be exploring a lot of new things. While someone else told me that he wants this for social media, and maybe we can bring up Farcaster. Who has heard of that? I don't know. And I think one of the very answers that's very close to what I would like to see is text declaration. And now coming from text declaration to gaming.
That was my second idea, but actually I prefer to do the text declaration than cooking.
Okay, yes, see, this is very different. But I think even for text declaration, maybe gamification could help here as well. And I have this question prepared for you so that you can start with all the insights that you have, Ben. How are advanced technologies and trends changing the way brands interact with their audience? From your personal perspective and maybe a little bit also from what you see at HubSpot.
So yeah, obviously we can see there is a huge change happening in the world with AI and emerging technologies. Maybe from a marketer's perspective, because you asked me for my personal perspective, and most of my job these days is marketing on YouTube. So the world's shifting, and we see that businesses struggle to get the traffic from search engines that they used to get. So I think social media is one thing that is more important than ever, I believe. That is why HubSpot invested so heavily in media, and specifically in podcasting, into YouTube. We're also playing around with AI a little bit, but more on that maybe later today. So what we're doing is we have a creator network, we have 5 YouTube channels, and those drive 12 million views per month right now. This is because search has changed and people try other tools to get the answers they're looking for. They're using AI, so they're moving away from Google. They're also moving away from Google because they're using social media to get the answers they're looking for. So we have to be mindful that TikTok is no longer a platform where we only see people dancing, but we get the answers we are looking for, even maybe a cooking recipe, even though you're not interested in cooking. If you want to look for one, you can find one right there. I think, and that's my personal opinion, with what is happening, no matter how good a social media platform is, at some point, all social media platforms struggle to keep the audience engaged because social media platforms, they add more features, they add more ad placements, which can be very annoying. And at some point, people leave the platform. So it starts with the early adopters, but then other people leave. And one thing that's not nice is that you have to start all over again once you go to a different platform. But there's one thing, so gaming platforms on the gaming industry is super good at keeping the audience engaged. So they are the experts to locking people in and have them keep engaged, because they know one thing, it's important to have people have fun, to keep them challenged but not frustrated, to make them curious but not feel overwhelmed. So no wonder the gaming industry, or all over the world, 3.2 billion people are gamers now. Even in Germany, 50% of the population are gamers now. So this is a huge market and a huge opportunity.
So one thing, it's not only Gen Z, right? I think this is always very interesting, because when we talk about what is the target group for gaming, many people say, yeah, well, this is only the young people. But if you say 50%, we really see this also with an older audience.
So the truth is, 20 years ago, I've worked in the gaming industry, and what I wanted to do is like evangelize people that they have the wrong idea about gaming and about socializing when people game. So I work with EA and other publishers to create events where people could see they have a wrong understanding of what the audience is. I'm for sure not young, and I'm a gamer. And I believe everyone in this room, maybe you have touched Candy Crush or some other games. Your kids are playing Minecraft.
Raise your hand. Who is playing any game, like on mobile?
Have you played a game on your mobile device? Or have you played Tetris? Like any stuff like that. It doesn't matter. Chess.
Chess.
So yeah, gaming platforms know how to keep people engaged. It's a growing market. And sometimes when we talk about the Metaverse, and that's what we've done last year, again, people have the wrong understanding of what the Metaverse is, because the Metaverse is here already. Like, it's been around for a decade, where people can just meet online and socialize. And that's where the brands should be. That's where we should be, meet the customer, because we have to go where the customer is. Whether it be YouTube or TikTok or a Metaverse platform like Roblox or Fortnite or Minecraft or a Web3 platform like Decentraland or the Sandbox. So go with the customers and try to engage with the customer.
Yeah, and I think this is one very good point. Who is not familiar with Roblox, it's kind of exactly mixing social and gaming in the best way. This is for the younger audience, we have to say 60% of the players are under the age of 17, but it engages the customer for an average daily use time of 2.5 hours. And I think there is no other platform at the moment that really does that. So if we think about AI, and I think this is the message, we also have to think of how to make it engaging so that it really thrives your business. And you're doing this perfectly. And what I loved also about your answers, when you said, what are you going to tell your parents of what you do? You give a lot so that you stay in the people's mind, and then they come back at some point. It might not be directly, but when they have a problem, they will remember, oh, there was this guy who told me a lot about things.
It's reciprocity. It works very well. And that's why most games change to a free-to-play model. So they lock you in so you can test it, you get to know the brand and the games, and then they make you pay at some point.
Thank you so much. Now from gaming to TV and streaming, Sven. We already saw that you have been working a lot for many years with UFA. And I think that you also have seen like a lot of changes, what happens in the space. And from you, I would like to know, how does the future of shopping on TV and streaming look like? If you can give some insights on your idea. And does Web3 play a role in there?
Just a little preliminary remark. We, as a TV production company producing fictional content, haven't ever dealt with marketing, shopping, or whatever. We always licensed our content. We just had the idea we have to produce the best series ever, the best daily series ever. We have been quite successful with that for 30 years now, and but the time's changing. The whole world changed, and also we adapted. Yeah. Now it is that we don't see us anymore as just a producer of a series. We see us as a creator of a brand that has to be taken care of, that has to be developed, and an audience that has to be taken care of, that has to be motivated, engaged.
This is, by the way, how we two met.
Yeah, and with this seems to be like a little change, but suddenly everything that you were already doing for years now makes sense also for us to take care of different, of total different aspect of our series. For example, in the old days, in the good old days, we only had to create content, and the broadcaster, mainly it was broadcasters, not yet the platforms, they did TV advertising, and it worked brilliantly. But with the new world, the advertising becomes more and more personalized. It has to be more authentic. So we now think, okay, the best thing is if we work together. That means if we not only have the story in mind, but if we only can, let's say, match a product to it. For example, one so far classical thing is, within the story, we had a young woman that developed a vegan bag and opened a shop. And well, that was a quite successful story, and suddenly we realized, well, we have a brand created within our series. Why don't we try to create this brand? This is still fictional, but as a real brand. And since we neither RTL not we know anything about bags or bag design and how to sell them, we get a partner on board, and we told the story that within Good Times Bad Times, this young lady launched a new collection, and at the same time we had this little collection in the real world and sold it. Well, there was a little problem. Corona closed all the shops down, but on the other hand, we've been quite successful. The online shop has been sold out immediately. So, and now, with this in mind, we start thinking about crossing the different aspects of story and products, and well, using our our influence. I mean, we are some kind of influencing brand, and we have the same problem like influencers. We have some authenticity. So how can we make money out of it? And still, we have to balance between telling good stories, not overwhelming the audience with more and more products that are just commercially based. But that is a completely different thinking we are now applying to the series.
And now it becomes really interesting because you were talking about physical goods like bags, and just listening to the story of gaming, we see that digital assets do have value too.
Absolutely. That was the next step. We thought, well, now we're doing it with physical goods. That is a quite difficult job, talking about logistics and returns, etc. So we now think about the next level. What could be the digital asset? And we are thinking about doing some gaming, or actually try to develop a game. Not in the sense that we think that the good way is to create a game within the good times, bad times environment, but because the gaming industry is international, and that is a main difference between all the other influencers or many other brands like Nike. We are a local brand, so we have a limited audience. Yeah. So we cannot act in the same way that the gaming industry can work, like scale it internationally. That doesn't work easily. But however, we think about that. And another topic that broadens a bit the view of gaming, if we just touched upon it, like virtual spaces. We experimented with Second Life tens of years ago.
It's not that, by the way. Whoever knows Second Life, it exists and it makes money.
However, it is not where we would like to end, and where we now see the future with AI and AI-generated figures or persons and characters. So, what is a main thing that our audience would like to do? That what everybody wants to do. They want to interact with our actors. Sometimes with the actors, the real persons, or just with the roles, because also the roles are role models, or could be role models, just for like the thing, how can I dress great? Because you always look great. So how would that be if we could develop a virtual environment? Roblox, I still think is not yet there for us, for creating a similar set virtually like we would like to have. But imagine just 1-2 days in the future, and that will become relevant, a really realistic environment, and the AI would even push the role to behave like the role in the series, and you could enter the scene and ask your role model.
So I think we see a lot of potential still for collaborations, also between different brands, to leverage each other's business in so many different ways. And Lukas, I was already announcing you for generative AI now. And I would like to hear your perspective on how generative AI can leverage all of this even more, where you see effects, and also the combination with Web3 and the blockchain.
Okay.
But focus on GenAI, otherwise I think we were running out of time.
It's going to take a while then. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. So I think generally, because like what I do is I don't, at least for now, I don't really do business. I research business and I research these technologies. So what I thought might be useful is thinking about how can we actually think about things like generative AI to make them accessible as a business case, specifically for e-commerce. And I thought it's maybe just to think about the fact, because we often look at the output, right, of generative AI, and we think, okay, generated content, so this is the output, and then that's it, it's magic, wow. But maybe it's more useful to really think about what the technology actually does, and in that sense, because that's the real innovation, is that it's really good at predicting context and at producing context. And that's when, for example, we talk with ChatGPT or something, it makes us feel like we have a human interaction, because the machine knows how to produce human context. So this is something, I think, which, like, anytime we think about how can we use generative AI for, like, a platform strategy or customer service and so on, I think the real question is, like, how can we use these technologies to make interactions with clients and customers more humane and more personal and more personalized? So in that sense, I don't know, you can probably say, like, the history of the internet is the history of data. So everybody who works in this business has like a lot of data. So use the data, for example, to establish context, as for example, like Walmart does with text to shop, where you have a chatbot, and this chatbot uses, like, you kind of just talk to it, and you know, based on your history. I mean, it's a US company, so they have a lot of data too. Based on the history, you can pretty much say, okay, I want to shop milk, and then it gives you the milk that it knows that you want in the first place, and simplifies experiences where otherwise you have to go to the store or spend a lot of time or whatever. And I think because when you just a lot of AI is very clumsy, right? Like a lot of generative AI. So we love it, of course, but then if we really work with it, we find the output is like it doesn't really work. It needs a lot of supervision. It needs a lot of human supervision. So when we talk about like aspects for increased personalization, we're not really there yet. So a lot about it is about experimenting and testing and just checking what actually works. But at the same time, like asking what are these humane interactions which actually make it work maybe better. So I think that's pretty much.
Thank you very much. I think we already like starting this. You engage with your audience. You try to keep them engaged. If you see they really engaged with that product, you create the brand. And now you use generative AI to leverage it and even prove it on chain. And now, of course, Sven, we want to track this data. And I think this is something that you should talk about. How do we track it and how do we integrate it in our existing systems? Because we do not always want to build from scratch. We have existing systems, and I think for efficiency and also for make the best of what we already have and not to build it all again.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
I totally agree. And so I actually just had a really nice side conversation, someone else from Oxolo actually, so that I met this morning. And I think integration into existing marketing channels is super important, okay? Because we just have these 5% that are currently in the crypto universe actually, right? So we have to make it really easy for everybody, also on the brand side, to actually use NFTs. And then we can maybe hope that more people actually see the benefits of some of these NFTs, of true ownership, and we can basically add it to more to the marketing mix. So for us, that's why I'm really so key behind this integration with Harmanus. It really means that big corporates, big brands are now able to actually cater with NFTs to the right audience base, the right audience and the right feature base, the right tool, right? And not everybody likes push notifications or messages or emails and whatever, right? But they want to have something else that they can attach to, right? They can actually create an image with or basically enjoy. And so getting it into these tools that are existing, that are actually out there, that are used by millions of people and customers basically, and brands out there, I think that's the thing to do. And that's really the important thing for, you call it mass markets or world dominance, I don't know, however you want to call it.
No, not dominance. I don't know if you said that right now.
That was
what I heard. I think it's more, as we said, what I see is that we more and more come to a kind of, if we have a collaborative mindset, and this is what I see with a lot of us, we can really grow the market and together and have this win-win situation. And this is what I see, what helps us also when we think of the new technologies. And I wanted to talk about ethics at least a little bit because we haven't really heard it today. How is your view on that? How can we kind of keep or tame the AI and everything which many people are afraid of and make the best out of it? Lucas, I already look at you because
that's a question for me.
We were talking about this, and then we have to talk a little bit. We have a few minutes left, and of course I want from all of you a statement for what is the thing that you see for the future, the most important thing for the next 2 years. But yeah, to the ethic part.
Ethics, okay. Okay, that's...
Make it short.
Yeah, I mean, there are many layers to AI ethics, right? So, I mean, the first one is access to AI and ownership of AI. So there are different models right now, but of course we know if we use very centralized solutions for AI, it means a lot of people get excluded or there will be bias in the technology which can be discriminatory or whatsoever. And for example, if it's not properly trained or if somebody just builds it by themselves or whatever. And at the same time, for For example, if you should think about if you want to use it for your business and you use a US corporation, does it comply with EU law, or does it work with EU law? Like, does it work with our conceptions of what we think is ethical perspective of privacy or not? So I think, like, I mean, I put it now all together in one thing, but I think the two big points are, first, in ethics, first of all, think about privacy questions. Second of all, think about questions of discrimination, who gets excluded by not being able to access technology or not being integrated into the process of how this technology is built, because both these things are important. And thirdly, I mean, I don't want to name anybody, but there have been examples where AI started, like, could be, let's put it like this, could be prompted to insult the owner of the AI or to insult clients. That's not really what you want, and I don't think that's ethical at the same time. So I think if we go back to what I said earlier, that AI, like generative AI, is something that produces context which is supposed to be humane. I think a good, like, rule of thumb is to really think about, okay, what's a humane implementation of this technology, which also fits with my personal or corporate values and, like, respects these other ethical points I just mentioned. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And now, before we have to wrap up the panel, because I think this session is also ending soon, are there any questions from the audience? Anything that you would like to know or hear from the speakers? And I think, Lukas, there's also an event coming up here in Berlin where you will focus more on exactly the decentralized systems connected with AI. So yeah, please approach Lukas later if you want to join there.
Yeah.
I don't see any questions, so then I would like to hear from you. Ben, next 2 years, what will be like the moment? Will we have another? Did we already have, like with the Apple Vision Pro, for example, the moment for the next evolution of gaming and everything?
I would say no. Not with the Apple Vision Pro, because I think they're targeting totally different people with what they're doing, and I sometimes feel they are not even sure who they're targeting with the device. I think everyone who's purchasing that device is a beta tester trying to find out what you can do with it, and then they optimize for it, like they did with the Apple Watch. I think we saw an interesting event with the Meta Quest 3, where they now have Roblox on that device, and they also have the Xbox Game Pass on that device. And I've tested it, and it was mind-blowing.
You will show some of these in our next podcast, right?
Yeah, I will show some of these in the next podcast episode. It's a video podcast, Creators of the Metaverse. I think this is where we are heading. I think it's not ready for the mass market. I think people might have different opinions on that, but I still think maybe those headsets are too bulky, but we will see in the next 2 to 3 years that once these headsets are smaller and easier to use, that more and more people will dive into immersive experiences, especially when all these AAA gaming experiences are available on those platforms. And that's a good place where you can engage with your customers.
Thank you very much. Sven, how do we shop in the future through streaming and TV? What do you see there in the next 2 years?
Well, the priority as a producer will be to use AI to make a better and more creative series. And anyway, I'm sure that we will focus on more personalized products within the series, and to possibly have more virtual goods that will realize in the real world to earn money, actually.
Cool. Lukas, what was your utopian vision for the next 2 years? What would be the best case scenario? What could happen?
Okay, so that's another big thing. So, like, that's not really an e-commerce thing. Like, what the report Anna mentioned earlier is me and a colleague of mine from the Hanseatic Blockchain Institute. We're gonna publish a report about how you can use how Europe should build more decentralized AI infrastructures to distribute ownership, for example, among startups, or also to enable startups who can't really afford all the tech in order to comply with European privacy law, like after the latest AI Act, to still participate by actually sharing or distributing the responsibility that's bound to that and just collaborating in order to establish these infrastructures. It goes into a lot of detail, and it's, as Anna said, it's a vision. But this report is going to be published around March, so if you're interested in it, just follow me on LinkedIn. And it's published by the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, which is here in Berlin. Yeah, so it's legit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Sven, will the mass market adoption for NFTs come soon? Will we call it NFTs, or will it just be a drag and drop in the masses?
Of course, of course. No, I mean, so there are so many hypes, right? There was this 2021, 2022 hype, and NFTs didn't go away. We actually invested into NFTs. Right now, actually, I see a lot of big companies skilling their internal people when it comes to NFTs. So we mainly did NFT drops with large corporates who actually wanted to skill their internal workforce, for example. So I think this is, there will be the next hype, of course, and the next hype will maybe again double the number of people who actually are aware of blockchain technologies and NFTs. And I think it just also, that's what we can actually figure out, or we can see right now, it also doesn't go away, right? So it's like, the times were not really good. When today is a great day, I guess, for Bitcoin and Ethereum or whatever, right? For like crypto, if you believe in the asset value, basically, right? But the last couple of months were actually pretty sad. The last couple of years were pretty sad, and it's not going away. And I think that's really the question that you have to answer as a large brand. Do you want to forget that segment, or do you want to deal with that segment, right? And so there's only one answer, and you need to partially go there at least and talk to these people and give them NFTs if they want NFTs. And that's what we do, basically, right? So
perfect, thank you. And I personally thank all of you for being with me on stage today with all the different perspectives that we also bring into the kind of innovator's dilemma, especially for big companies and brands, of how we can innovate, stay true to the brand, and still not be disrupted by others. And as I said, I always see that Berlin is very vibrant when it comes to the startup space, but many startups are facing challenges that they might not be able to tackle alone. This is why we heard about decentralized models working together, but also maybe working with big brands. I think most of us are quite open to do this, so reach out to us. Thank you very much. I hope Lea is still here somewhere. I would love to see you on stage so that we can finish the day. Thank you so much for being with us also. Yeah, you can have my mic because I think there are none left. Lea, how do you feel? How was it today for you?
Super exciting. I'm not exaggerating when I say I've learned a couple new things, both from you guys and from the speakers before. So I'm really excited to dive into all of these topics in more detail.
Yeah, and I also want to say thank you for Arvato Systems, for colleagues being here with us, supporting us. Yeah, reach out if you want a trusted manufacturer partner for the German market, for everything that you want to implement, also for SAP. We love to hear from you. We love to hear about new projects. Thank you very much. We now take a picture together. Thank you for staying with us. I know a lot of you have to catch a train. I was already told this before. So yeah, and we all stay in touch. I love working with you guys. Thank you very much for coming all the way from Munich or Berlin.